Hi everyone, welcome to this session for Masters of Product Marketing. We'll be talking about elevating your go-to-market strategy with empathy, and I'm going to pass you over to Jonathan.
Thank you, Emma, and thanks everybody for joining in. It's a really kind of great pleasure and an enormous privilege to take part in this really awesome and enriching framework that the Product Marketing Alliance put together. To just be counted among some of the names that are on the roster is the kind of the utmost professional respect and accreditation that one can hope for. So really happy to be here and share this hour with you. So for the next hour or so, we will be talking about empathy and go-to-market. I'll introduce myself, who I am, what I do, where I'm from, and so on in a second. Before we begin, just sort of by means of clarification, this isn't a session about go-to-market, or it's not a session about, let's say, go-to-market best practices or go-to-market strategy or processes. Go-to-market is something that is really, as the description of the session entailed, it's one of the staples. It's one of the it's the bread and butter of what we do as product marketers. Launching a feature, taking a product to market, crafting the messaging, finding the target audience, really getting it to the people who needs it the most. This is what we do. There are a lot of varying opinions about what it is to be a product marketing, but go-to-market is definitely something that is at the top of our toolbox. This session takes upon what most of you have probably engaged with and touched upon during your professional life, which is launching a feature or a product, and really kind of looking at every step of the way, both inwards and outwards, and seeing where empathy exists and where empathy can serve you and elevate your campaign and really put it above the noise, so that on the other side there is someone who feels as though you have really kind of stepped into their shoes and found and were able to zone in on the need that they were communicating, either explicitly or otherwise. So kind of this is before we even begin, just I want to let everyone know that this is what this session is going to be about. Okay, so just so you can kind of get to know me a little bit better and to understand how did I come to be a product marketer. So my name is Jonathan. I'm 34 years old and I live in Tel Aviv, Israel. Currently, I am, the past 3.5 months, a director of product marketing at a company called Elementor. If you want to look us up, we're a really exciting company, building and creating sort of the next generation of website building platform for WordPress websites. I am married to Lilach, who is also a marketer. So there's a lot of shop talk at home. We compare notes. She helps me with top funnel, which is her specialty. I help her with retention, which is my specialty. We got married in Vegas, and we're really into Purim, which is Jewish Halloween, that one holiday where we all dress up. This is something of a thing of ours. Another thing you may not know about me is that I am a proud parent of a bunny who's actually in the room with me somewhere in the back. We found her on the street about a year ago when she was this tiny, and she is really into cilantro. We can't stand the sight or smell of it. She can't get enough. It's the only reason we have it in the fridge. Another kind of fun fact about me is that for the majority of my 20s, I've spent as a professional musician. Bass player, producer, arranger, composer. That's what my bachelor's degree is in music technology. So I spend a lot of time around that, and I can give a whole talk about why musicians and producers are made of the best material to be successful product marketers. But that's for a different talk. Yes, I can play the double bass, the giant violin thing that is impossible to carry around. And I didn't always have this beard that I have on me right now, as these pictures show. My alma mater, as far as product marketing is concerned, is Wix, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. I spent about 4 years there doing various product marketing, positions and tasks. Really kind of took me all through the gamut. Taught me most of what I know today. Really kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to learn the tricks of the trade at a company of this scale. Like I said, we were also really into custom parties, and we even won first prize one year. Since I left Wix in August last year, I worked at a startup. And just in the picture above, you can see the difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID hang with your colleagues. So yeah, I was one of those people who found themselves looking for a job during lockdown. Luckily, I found the one that I currently have, and I'm incredibly thankful and fortunate to kind of stay within this niche that I'm beginning to kind of really specialize in, which is enabling and empowering web creators. And yes, I still haven't met most of my colleagues face to face. We're still doing sort of a day at the office, the rest at home, kind of a situation where most of you, I assume, are also dealing with as well, wherever you are. And another thing I'm exceptionally proud of, which is kind of one of the key reasons that I'm kind of here talking to you, is that about a year ago I founded the basically only specialized community for product marketing managers in the Israeli tech scene, which, as many of you know, is quite lively and quite varied. As of now, I think we're over 900 members. We do try to keep it exclusive, but this is a very, very hot topic and a very hyped position. A lot of people are looking to transition into it. A lot of people are looking for work, and product marketing is one of those, one of those few fortunate titles that doesn't necessarily require a lot of tech experience. It does require a lot of interpersonal skills and professional prowess, but not a great deal of actual tech, hard skills. And we are somehow throughout this entire pandemic, we've managed to squeeze in 3 underground, as I call them, meetups, because we kind of had to find venues where venues aren't available. We had to be really careful, making people feel comfortable. But this community is very, very lively, and it does help a lot of people move into the field of product marketing. We've had quite a few people finding jobs through the community. We use it to bring forward professional challenges, methods, best practices. We share work in progress, which is the best thing in the world, to be a safe space to do that. And even more so, we are a majority of women in the group. There are about 60%, I think, by now. I manage it together with 2 very, very skillful and formidable product marketing managers, Oriana and Topaz, if they're listening. So shout out to them. Okay, so why are we here? Exactly, just to kind of put everyone in the right frame of mind. So we are talking about the ways in which we can elicit empathy in ourselves and in others to drive our go-to-market campaign forward. Go-to-markets are, while they are a pretty standard practice, and like I said, they are a staple of what we do, They do involve a lot of moving parts and a lot of different functions, and require coordination across a variety of functions, mediums, and decision makers and stakeholders. Not to mention the fact that you are taking something that that people built, and you need to sell it. You need to get it out there in the world for people to use, for people to to be curious about, to be intrigued about, to try, to love, to pay for. All of these things can be made better and can be made more effective if you if you hit the ground with empathy in mind. If empathy is something that is second nature to you, or if it's not second nature, at least it's something that you can acquire and you can find, little checkpoints in the road where you see how far off you are from sort of the empathy marker. So we're going to talk about empathy at early stages of the process. We are going to touch on what actually makes up a go-to-market strategy. It's kind of it's kind of essential to put context to the conversation. We're going to talk about how we address messaging from a user perspective. How do we approach the entire process with empathy, and finally, how we use empathy in order to enroll others into the process and to get them to partner with us instead of working for us. So the word empathy, sort of when I was doing some research for this talk, I found out that the word empathy, while originating from Greek, so it's in feeling, and pathos in Greek is feeling. The word itself is about 100 years old. It was a very recent invention, and it came to replace a lot of other words with similar but not yet accurate enough meaning. And empathy literally means to place yourself inside someone else's position. It's not to kind of view their constraints, their pains, their needs from a distance. It's to be as close as possible to the visceral feeling of what it is that they currently need dealing with, their hurt, their goals, their motivations. And so empathy embodies all of that. And to be empathetic, we'll get to that in a second. To be empathetic is to see yourself in every second of the process when you are, especially when you're marketing to people, to human beings. How much at every given moment you are as close as you can to where that person is currently in and which state of mind they're in right now. And because that is the moment where they need to make a decision whether or not the product that you're marketing is right for them. If you're familiar with this chart, if you are a kind of a disciple of design thinking, as I am, you know that the first stage of design thinking, before you even, before a pen touches a paper, before a single line of code is written, before designs are being made and PR statements are being crafted, first comes empathy. Start with empathy. That is literally the first line in design thinking principle, which and without it, the rest of the chain is pointless. If you haven't started with what is the pain that I'm solving, which frame of mind the person that I'm addressing to is in right now, whichever I'll define, ideate, prototype, test, and then launch, will just be a shot in the dark. It might land, it might not, but if you do start with empathy and you devote enough time in the process to really list out those those kind of empathy notes or empathy KPIs, even if you want to call them, then you're you're in safer waters. At least you know that at any given moment you can come back and say, okay, how is this deliverable or that deliverable, this landing page, that video, this intro screen, how does that tie back to a pain or a need or a goal that I've identified at first? So being empathetic is essentially, embodying these 7 characteristics. It is operating completely without ego, internally, externally towards your colleagues, and externally towards your users, your prospects. Humility, meaning to be in a constant state of, I'm not the smartest person in the room, I don't know everything. Be a good listener, to be open and receptive of other people's opinions and wisdom, because that wisdom is out there to be absorbed. Same as being a good listener, you need to be observant. You need to be in constant alert. We will get to kind of where should you observe, or where observation is most effective at later stages. But it is kind of to listen in where where empathy signals exist. To be caring, to kind of lead with, not this is something that needs to be done, these are goals that needs to be met. Of course, these are important, and you need to keep those in mind, but come from a place of caring. Be curious and being sincere. If there's one thing that drives me as a marketer, and that kind of that quote unquote turns me on as a marketer, it's sincere marketing. It's marketing that doesn't try to manipulate, doesn't try to sell something, doesn't do this and then kind of push something else while I'm not looking or not paying attention. So sincerity goes a tremendous way. You don't want to think like the customer. You don't want to be the customer. Empathy is not a state of reporting something. It's a state of being someone as much as you can. We can't always be our target audience. That's why if you look at successful companies, including the one I currently work in, companies that were founded based on an actual pain that someone was experiencing, on a missing tool or a missing solution, or someone who was risking their business being closed down, or them not meeting sales quota because something wasn't there, and then they built the tool in order to achieve that. And then every new person that they bring to the team buys in on that need, and then that need is then met and being reverberated and echoed back from the customers themselves. So you want to be the customer. You want to wake up every morning when you're working on anything as a product marketer, specifically with go-to-market, because you need to get people's attention very, very quickly, and they need to make a very quick decision whether you're right for them or not. The more time you spend in your customer or your user's skin, the more effective your go-to-market would be. We will obviously expand on that a little bit later. For me, this is the way this plays out is to keep a very, very careful balance between what's in it for them being people who use the product, people who are interested or should be interested, and what's in it for us. So the business metrics, the usage and product adoption KPIs, and all of these things that we measure as a company, as an organization that strives for growth and strives for development. We always need to maintain that balance. No one does. Some of us do it for charity, but most of us are sort of in for-profit organizations or products with a business model at the base of them. And that's not something that we need to shy away from or we need to apologize for. But definitely, this needs to always be with sort of the right blend with why you're here, why we exist, and what is it about our existence and our offering that serves you, and why that thing is worth your money, and why, you know, like I said, it's not about sort of doing away with business goals. It's more about how do you balance that with actual value that touches on a need. So like I said, empathy is compassion. It's balancing internal goals and external needs. Favor nurturing over short-term gains. You know, you can, like I said, you can trick a lot of people into signing up or trying out your product if, you know, if, I don't know, 0.1% of them find it useful within a month, then you haven't done much, and you haven't probably haven't acquired them with empathy or with their need in mind. Even if you have, then the product didn't deliver on that promise. Like I said, transparency is the best policy. Just say what it is that you do. So this is sort of being compassionate with how you communicate. And like I said, it's not charity, and it's not being shy about the fact that you are a business and you are a product that people want, should, need, and that is worth a certain amount, and that people are willing to pay in exchange for these services or solutions. And also, empathy doesn't mean that you have to be nice all the time and that you have to, to offer free hugs for everybody and to say yes to everybody. Sometimes it means to be very, very fierce and very, you need to kind of hold your ground and push back forces and demands to shift to a less empathetic direction in favor of this business goal or that. So that is also, being empathetic doesn't always mean to just smile and say yes to everybody. A lot of the time it's just like, no, this is what we set out to achieve. This is what we set out to solve. And while business goals are appreciated and short-term goals are important, there's usually sort of a greater prize at the horizon that everyone needs to align towards. And ultimately, empathy pays off. Okay, because if you're designing, if you're building and marketing a product based on empathy, based on a need and a pain, and you can actually deliver on that promise very, very quickly, and people can draw a straight line between what you promised that you will solve and what you actually did, then these things happen. I see it every day at Elementor. Elementor is a product that is built almost entirely on empathy, and it was built as a solution to basically salvage the design agency of the two people who founded it. And you see that with the people who use it now 4 years later after it was founded, and all the people who joined. So you see advocacy and you see brand loyalty in a very fiercely competitive market, and you see acquisition campaign metrics that are phenomenal because there's actual value in the product, faster adoption and higher retention because people land on your product. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. This is exactly what you said, and this is exactly what I was looking for. And you really hit, you kind of touched on that point that nobody else was able to touch. So in case some product marketing out there who kind of need a little bit of an alignment of, or maybe some of you out there aren't product marketing managers and are curious about what it is that we do, this is, like I said, this is kind of the PMM spectrum. This is what we mostly do in an organization. Sometimes we do a little bit more of some things and a little bit less in other things. Obviously, it varies between industries and products and scale, but ultimately, we take care of the research, of the insight part, and a lot of it is in the realms of qualitative research, so actually speaking to people, and we'll get to that as well. We take care of the messaging of how the product communicates, talks, what is the voice of the product, what do we call different things, how do we call different actions, how do we generate excitement and anticipation. Like I said, we're the voice of the user and we're advocates of the product, so we do try as hard as we can to embody the user and to live as the user. We also take all of that into impacting and crafting and building the business model around the product. So pricing and packaging, what each tier of the product actually includes, and the differentiation between each tier and why one costs more and one costs less, and all of the unit economics behind that. And a go-to-market, in case someone needs to kind of have a clarification around what go-to-market is. It is the plan of an organization to actually take something that they have built. It can be a brand new product that has never seen the light of day, or it can be incremental additions or updates, or it can be there's actually a list in the next slide, so we'll hold on to that. Basically, you've made something, someone's out there looking for it, wanting to use it, and it can be incorporated in their daily lives. You need to let them know about it. You need to find who these people are, reach them, touch them, get them to try. I don't know if you share this sentiment as well, but definitely if there's something about 2020 that can be agreed upon, is that buying groceries, really going anywhere that involves other people and handing people money and getting it back requires a fair deal of strategizing. So this is, I don't know, this is just one of these 2020 zeitgeist quotes that I found really, really amusing. So as I said, when we talk go-to-market, we usually talk about either announcing a brand new product, launching a feature in an existing product. That feature can be an incremental step, and it could be a whole new pivot, a whole new segment, new business model. I don't know, moving from one-time payment to subscription, moving from freemium to a members only, mergers, acquisitions. A company acquires something, another company, another service, incorporating that into their core offering is definitely something that we will take to market. Integration, partnerships, rebranding is definitely something that can and should be treated as a go-to market, since it usually evokes the same emotion from the people already using. You'd be surprised how people get attached to brands and a brand look. I've gone through at least 2 of these in my professional life. It never goes smoothly, no matter how empathetic you are. People will always have something to say about the new colors and the new fonts. But definitely another type of go-to-market effort. So when we talk about go-to-market, we usually talk about 4 main flagpoles, 4 main checkpoints that we go through until we hit the button, send out the emails, publish the ads, publish the video, sort of shoot off the PR statement. So to get there, there are various steps, and each one of these steps, like I said, we as product marketers, it is our responsibility as people who embody the need and the want of the user to inject with empathy. We have launch planning, we have research, strategy, and the launch itself and beyond. Not surprising that the last stage is obviously, it's a singular moment in time, but even after that, there's still some work to be done. So when we talk about planning, we need to size the launch. We need to think about what it is that we're creating. for the launch. It can be as simple as a push notification or as complex as a billboard, a primetime ad, 5 different iterations of a pre-roll ads, a mini site with 10 internal pages, a new pricing page, and so on and so forth. But this is definitely something that needs to be sized. And first and foremost, you need to look at what you can actually create with the resources that you have, and obviously look at what the effort requires. Setting goals and milestones. So every single step needs to have kind of a stop sign of saying, okay, is this is this ready? Is this as far as we got? Is there more research, more deliberation that needs to take place? You need to align the organization. Obviously, you're planning a launch, you're lining it up. You need to start enrolling stakeholders in your organization, and start getting them to allocate resources, and defining and reporting KPIs. So you're saying, when this launch will happen, here is where I perceive change to occur, and this is what we're going to measure and define as success or failure. Then comes the research phase, which falls mainly on us, the product marketers, because we need to collate and store and absorb and process a lot of raw information that comes to us from a variety of sources. This is where we become sort of a weird hybrid qualitative analyst, where we start talking to customers, where we define the market and size the market as well, and see, what is exactly what reach and what impact can we expect. We need to think of what are the distribution model and distribution channels. Like, where are we going to push this? Which medium fits this product best? Do we run ads on Google? Do we just send an email to our entire user base? Do we segment this user base and send them specific messages per segment? All of these things come within the research phase, as well as the mother load, or the bulk of the work, which is product messaging and positioning, which is, what are we going to say? What are we going to present? How do we, what are we selling, basically? What does it do? And why should you care? Messaging, positioning, packaging. Personally, this is, while this is the most labor-intensive part of the process for the product marketer, this is my favorite part, because this is kind of where you sort of move in to live inside the product, and you kind of you bring a few users or a few user personas to shack in with you as well, and you just get a feel of what it is that the product does. Why was it developed? Why are these things here and not, why are these features exist and not these features? And how do we stand out in terms of competition? What does our product have that others don't? And if we both have the same features, so if Elementor, which is a site builder on WordPress, there are other site builders as well, but we have, and obviously we share some of the same features and capabilities. But once you've kind of lived inside the product for a while, and once you've talked to a fair amount of users, you get a feeling of why this, and then this why is then being poured and translated into all of the marketing deliverables. And finally, pricing. If the product that you're taking to market costs money, or if you're changing a business model, you need to get to do all the fancy calculations and unit economics to define what this price should be and how this pricing model should be communicated. Also part of the research. And then comes strategy, which is to actually just starting to laying it out and to execute on everything that you have poured into the research. So it's the messaging doc, it's the one, the kind of the single source of truth, the one Bible that everyone refers to when when talking about the launch campaign, and the deliverables themselves. So emails, landing pages, videos, documents, sales decks, executive presentations, PR statements, the lot. Social posts, you name it. So all of these things kind of fall into this stage. Sometimes you would be the one to do cross-organizational training. So you would take all the knowledge that you've acquired and chewed up and absorbed and processed into presentation condition, because this is all about presentation. You will be the one who will take the product and train others in the organization on that product. It can be sales representatives, it can be support agents, it can be your own colleagues, other marketers, other professionals, as well as creating demos, looking out for use cases. And obviously, there comes that magic moment where a button is pushed, emails go out, ads are being published, videos are being distributed, the product is out there, people are starting to respond to it, and you just sit and you look and you cross your fingers that everything goes well and everybody loves it. And even those who don't, they hate it for the right reasons. And I always say that, like, no one hates a product out loud. If someone expresses hate, it's just another way for them to say, actually, I really like what you've done. It would have been great if it also had 1, 2, 3. After that comes the moment of collecting feedback, reporting KPIs, what actually happened, so the campaign performance, and performing retrospective, post-mortem, to kind of look back at what happened, what could have gone better, what didn't go so well, both in terms of the process itself and obviously the outcome if the desired results weren't achieved. And doing a retrospective, an introspection actually is, I think, one of the most valuable parts of a go-to-market strategy. And this is also, if at any step of the process, empathy can be injected in the form of, this is, I know from surveys I've conducted and from interviews I've made and from the data that I have that users are looking for features 1, 2, 3. This is the point in time where you look inwards and apply the empathy, basically kind of towards yourself and the organization, saying, here's where we lacked empathy, or here's where we could have operated with greater care. Wanted to share an example. I actually wanted to share a more recent example of something I was working on, but it's kind of still not yet out there for the world to see. So I thought I'll kind of dig into my to my old playbook and bring something that I was a go-to-market campaign that I led at Wix. It was about 3.5 years ago when Wix launched an SEO product, and that product basically gave users the option to tend to their website's SEO. It was a pain that a lot of users were expressing. So the initial the initial development of the product did start with empathy. There was obvious business goals attached to it, but ultimately you have users who build a website, they want their website to be found on Google, and they don't understand why that's not happening. So it's our job, it was our job as the people who provide the platform to also provide a solution for that. And so this is kind of like, this was the first fold of the landing page that we were leading with for that particular go-to-market campaign. And you can see sort of how how we were able to work empathy into every bit of the messaging here. Obviously, this page goes further down, but just you're looking at the kind of the hero section of this page, and it has no more than, say, 15 to 20 words on it. And each of these words were very, very carefully selected to embody the pain or the initial want and need and motivation, and how this new tool solves this. You can also see that we actually also included a piece of the UI as part of the hero section so that people can expect something. And this is, there's a website in the background, and at the front, there's a piece of the product UI referring to that, so that, people just get a more clear context of what this actually does and what it actually will look like when they're using it. So you see, what they actually want, or the pain that they set out with is to rank higher on Google, rank higher, not rank first, not to rank best, rank higher, because we also can't make claims that we then can follow. So this is, this is the main message. Then the secondary message is what you need to do. So empathy also comes in the form of, okay, you're about to use the product. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what is required of you. Here's what, in order for you to achieve success, this is what we're allowing you, giving you the option to do. Pick your keywords, follow a personalized plan, and get found online. And also there's, an even tiny little bit of empathy over here. I don't know if you can see my mouse cursor. You probably can't. There's a little link that says, what's SEO? Because we're dealing with people who, this is probably the first time they're ever creating a website, and they might even not, not be aware of this acronym and what it means. And so we've included that then opens a pop-up that gives a brief explanation about what SEO, search engine optimization, is and why it is important. A couple more examples I found. One is for the new Rooms feature for Facebook Messenger. Another is for the new ads product from TikTok. And both of these kind of, I really liked how they led with empathy, each with their, with a very unique form. There's something very profound about how they're understanding their users' pain with each of these products. For example, Facebook made it very, very clearly, it's a very important value proposition for them to communicate that no account needed to join. It's always a pain, especially now in times where more people need to use video conferencing tools than ever in history. And an account and to sign up and to register, if anyone tried to get their parents or grandparents on Zoom or any other video conferencing tool, that pain. So they outright said no account needed to join. That is pure empathy and identification and embodiment of a user's need. With TikTok, they say don't make ads, make a new trend. We know that advertisers, specifically when a new platform comes out, advertising, online ads, it's a vertical in an industry that has been tarnished and has been a lot of stuff thrown at it in the last couple of years. And they just went for like, we're not making ads. We're making a new trend. We're making a connection. You're creating content. We're just giving you the opportunity to distribute it in a way that fits your brand. So this addresses advertisers who are tired of running ads. This was the pain that they identified and the solution that they embody. So kind of two examples that I really, really liked. We can't talk about, about go-to-market empathy without talking about what it is that we're actually going to measure this by and how we know that we've been successful or not. So on one hand, you can look at what the campaign does. There are a lot of measurable stuff there that has to do with the campaign assets themselves, open rate, click-through rate, scroll, video, percentage of video viewed, social engagement, and so on. But you always have to tie that with hard KPIs with what actually happened in the product. Because you can create a very engaging campaign asset that tells absolutely nothing about the product, and then you will see this. So you definitely need to look at conversion rates from campaign assets, new signups, retention. How many of those were new, and how many of those are existing users? To start listing those as cohorts and seeing people who arrived from that campaign, what happened to them a month later, a year later, in terms of what they've done with the product, the funnel ratios, progress within the product after being exposed to campaign assets. All of these things will tell you whether or not you did a good job. Okay, as predicted, I see that I have about 10 minutes and about not a whole lot of to go through, but I will definitely sort of be a little bit briefer about the next couple of slides. Everybody knows this format, I hope. This is a persona ID card, persona template. This is something that most product companies keep handy in terms of knowing who uses or what the product was built for. And it usually encapsulates both demographic, psychographic, and sort of personal drivers, wants and needs and frustrations. And this is where empathy lies. And when you're creating, because it is more often than not our job to create these persona cards, so we need to make sure that empathy exists, so that when someone reads this card, it's not just about where they're from and how old they are and which, and are they an Apple or an Android person, but when they are online, what are the things that they like? What are the things that they dislike? When they are at work, what are the things that get them motivated? What are the things that gets them, I don't know, that puts them down? These things can only come from qualitative research. I have yet to find a quantitative way of coming up with these emotional empathy metrics. So it's talking to them, talking to as many users as possible. It could be one-on-one, it could be focus groups, it could be online communities. So long as you have FaceTime with your users and you hear them speak with their own voice and their own terms. Support tickets, search terms and reviews, also a very, very good indication. Support tickets specifically because that's where people go to complain. So that's where people who have an actual pain right now after using your product, that's where they go and voice that pain. So that is a very kind of a gaping portal into empathy and into problem solving. When talking about acquiring those users, so acquisition is always a very important part in go-to-market. You need to think about where that acquisition occurs. What is the creative that's being used? How much of the actual product benefit and value proposition exists in this top of funnel material? So basically, how painful would the crash be if the promise isn't met with product features and capabilities, and you obviously don't want there to be a crash at all, or at least you want it to be as cushioned as possible. When you're segmenting, we've touched upon it slightly earlier, so kind of how do you slice up your users? Not all users are born identical. Hopefully you have a product that serves a variety of personas and a variety of segments. And when you're, when you're sizing up your launch, when you're thinking about how you're delivering which message to which audience, this is also a great place to instill empathy, because you do need to think where these people are. How likely are they to open an email? How likely are they to engage with a push notification? How likely are they to receive something from word of mouth? And genuinely, how likely are they to understand what it is that we're saying? Sometimes you need to craft different messages for different audiences. Essentially, yeah, to diagnose the pain and prescribe the remedy. What got them here? What do you solve? And call to action. Think about where they're headed next, because enticing them and picking their curiosity isn't enough. They need to understand, like the example that I've shown, where it is that they're headed. What should they expect? And building your messaging from the center outwards. I've shown you the hero section of a landing page. Obviously, the further down you scroll, the more advanced and geeky things get, because you want to think of if all they read is the hero section, what it is that they understand about what you are trying to tell them, about what it is that you are offering them. So you kind of need to work from the center outwards, from the most universal offering to the specific or niche. And you need to think about the medium that you're using. If it's an email, you need to think about from subject line to title to CTA to where you land them, from video to landing page to pricing page. All of these need to, you need to keep those in mind as your, as user kind of progresses further down the journey. Empathy towards your team. Now I have about 5 minutes to talk about this. I will briefly go over kind of the main interfaces that we find ourselves as part of when we're working in general, and specifically around go-to-market campaigns. Obviously, we're product marketing managers, so one foot will always be in the product organization, in the product side of the company. Product managers are our best friends. We need to, to be around them, to be in constant communication with them. They need to know every step that we're taking. We need to know every step that they're taking. If they're changing something in the product, if they can shine a light on a reasoning of why a specific feature was dropped out of a version or an initial release, we need to understand why that happened, and vice versa. Together, we own both ends of the stick, both ends of the story, what it actually does, which is the product and the sum of its features, and what you get, or the why you should use it, which is our thing. Sales, provided I'm a B2C guy, I've been at B2C products all my life, so sales is not something that I've had to kind of to handle, but it's definitely, I'm assuming a part of a lot of you. There are sales operations in the companies and the products that you work at. Battle cards is like the one buzzword that I educated myself on, which is like, you are talking to a prospect, you're pitching the product and its offering. You need to have immediate responses to questions and to pushbacks, and you're the one that provides them. Sales enablement is another staple of product marketing at B2B organizations. We are the ones that are crafting and writing these battle cards and getting salespeople better at their job, and also being authentic and sincere while they're doing it, and not just salesy. Marketing, and in marketing, I tie everything from acquisition, so top funnel marketing, to content and design and video production, anything that involves assets. These are definitely very, very important partners in your journey, because they are the ones that will create everything that's been living in your head. And this is an amazing opportunity for you, a product marketer, and we might carry skills from previous jobs, but the one beautiful thing about a product marketing manager is that they don't need to have any hard skills. We don't necessarily need to know how to design. We don't necessarily need to know even how to write or how to be a copywriter, but we certainly need others, and we need to be the best at getting the most out of the professionals that we work with. And a lot of these professionals at very, very key points in the process, they exist within this marketing organization of the company that you work for. They'll be the ones creating the beautiful assets that you will enable, that you will initiate. Support, of course, last but not least, support needs to always be on your mind, because as we said, support is the first line of fire. It's where people come torch blazing, pitchfork wielding, screaming at the top of their voice because they paid you good money and you failed to deliver. And they've had a bad experience, or they were trying to do something and they couldn't for whatever reason, and now they're here to complain. So support needs to be ready. They need to have the right ammunition. and they need to, much like sales, but from a different side of the emotional spectrum, they need to also have battle cards. They also need to have kind of ready responses as to what it is that that could have gone wrong and how things can be resolved. I will close my statement, my talk, then we'll leave a few minutes for questions with a few notes that I encourage you all to take with you. First, as I said, is to learn from everybody, to never be the smartest person in the room, to always approach any project that you do with great humility, and always give space and voice to people who are either more experienced than you or just are better at something, at a part of the project, and which obviously leads to this. So you need to make space for expertise. People, when they're given a fair share of the project and of the process, they are more likely to excel. When they feel like they are actual stakeholders and not service providers and not contractors, they bring their best work forward. So I encourage every single one of you in your next project, when you're, when you do sort of a cross team effort, and we're working with other professionals, give that space. Be humble and listen, and assume that for every step of the way, there's someone out there that knows a little bit more about this than you do. And you're just fortunate enough to be in the position that you can take that knowledge and drive it forward. And also, I mean, right here, but like, give credit where credit is due. Credit is something that is very easily overlooked because it's someone's job, but it goes a million miles, and people, they really do kind of shine and are being elevated when they're being given credit, especially in front of management and in a wide forum. So never forget that. I will leave you with this quote for you to kind of take into heart. I feel like this is at least the torch that is guiding me in my professional path as a product marketer, as someone who's trying to advocate empathy wherever he goes. I genuinely do try and put myself inside whoever it is that I'm currently working with and marketing to. And I always do try and think as much and as deeply as I can about the people crossing the bridge. Thank you. If we have a few minutes for questions, now is the time.
Hi, Jonathan. I think we have time for one question, which is from Jamie. Do you have any tips for mapping search terms to a given persona? And is the best way to do that via a customer interview?
Actually, it's not the first time that this particular question comes up in kind of one of these presentations. Search terms, usually you kind of have to play both sides. You would want to have a more or less defined persona, or at least a kind of proto persona in mind, whereas you've identified the initial need. Then there are a variety of tools in which you can use to map search terms, from Search Console itself to SEMrush and Ahrefs. There are a variety of tools that kind of similar web that help you paint a picture of search terms for your own domain as well as for your competitor domain. And so then you can start. I would definitely do both in tandem. So yes, interview users, try and collect the terminology that they're using when being asked, so like, why did you try this in the first place, or what it is that you were initially looking for, they would usually use literal terms that are sometimes detached from your product messaging. But this will give you an indication of what it is that you're searching. Then you can hunt those terms down in any of the research tools that are available out there. And a lot of these tools will also give you, like I said, a sort of a map at where these terms, how these search terms distribute, and where these people then end up either on your domain or your competitors. So I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. And thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And take care, Jonathan.
Thank you, Emma, and thanks everyone for joining. I wish you a great week ahead. Ciao.